Folks, in my 20 years in the league, I've never seen anything like this. What I'm about to tell you is not just a rumor. It's a seismic shift that could redefine the entire landscape of the NFL this offseason. Something so unbelievable, so clandestine, that even the most seasoned insiders are whispering about it in hushed tones behind closed doors. And let me give you this guarantee. What you're about to hear is only the tip of the iceberg. There's an even bigger secret buried beneath all of this, and I promise, when it all comes to light, you'll realize we're on the brink of something historic. But before I go any further, if you want to be the first to hear the full story, if you crave inside intel you won't find anywhere else, then do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and activate that notification bell. Because what you're about to hear isn't for everyone. It's for those who want to stay ahead, who want to understand the game at a level no one else even dares to approach. Those who are ready to uncover secrets that are still hidden in the shadows. Now, with that out of the way, let's talk about Cleveland. The city of legend, the birthplace of grit, and now, on the brink of a radical transformation. The Cleveland Browns, under the new leadership of Todd Monken, are laying groundwork that screams of a calculated master plan. But what if I told you that, behind the scenes, they're cooking up a move so audacious, so game-changing that it could shake the league to its core? That move. It involves none other than a young, explosive wide receiver you've all seen flash brilliance, but whose name is now swirling in whispers of a blockbuster trade. Let me take you deep inside the Browns' locker room, the front office, and the gut-wrenching, adrenaline-fueled world of NFL trade machinations. This isn't just speculation. This is a behind-the-curtain analysis based on insider whispers, film reviews, and the latest intel from the league's most reliable sources. Strap in, because what I'm about to reveal could redefine your understanding of NFL power plays in this offseason. When Cleveland fired Kevin Stefanski after a disastrous 5-12 season, they knew they had to shake things up. They needed a new identity, a fresh offensive philosophy, and most importantly, playmakers who can elevate their new scheme. Todd Monken, fresh from orchestrating the Ravens' explosive offense, was brought in to do just that. But how does a team with Deshaun Watson, still rehabbing from his torn Achilles, and a roster that's hungry for a spark, make that leap? Especially when the roster's most talented wide receiver, Donovan Peoples-Joseph, has yet to fully establish himself, and the entire receiving core is still trying to find chemistry. The Browns are clearly in a rebuild mode, but what's fascinating is their aggressive stance this offseason. They're not just looking for a Band-Aid, they want a game changer. They need someone with the ability to stretch defenses, someone who can redefine how the passing game operates in Cleveland. And that's why, behind closed doors, the whispers point to an incredible possibility, an imminent trade for none other than Gabe Davis. Let's break down Cleveland's current needs, because this isn't just about one player. It's about the entire fabric of their offensive future. The Browns' weakness last season was glaring: inconsistent deep threat, poor red zone production, and a lack of a true X receiver to dominate the outside. While Deshaun Watson has the arm talent, he's lacked the ultimate weapon to unlock defenses vertically, especially after their depth chart was decimated by injuries. That's where Gabe Davis enters the equation. Film study tells the story. Davis isn't just a big-bodied receiver. He's a genuine vertical weapon with 4.5-second 40-yard dash speed, a knack for contested catches, and a rare ability to turn downfield routes into explosive gains. Watching his film, you see a player who runs precise routes, adjusts beautifully to high throws, and has reliable hands in traffic. His 17-plus yards per reception in 2025 tells us exactly what he can bring: stretching defenses, opening lanes for the run game, and thriving in the red zone. He's the kind of player who demands respect deep, forcing safeties to cheat, which frees up the underneath routes. According to advanced analytics, Davis's yards per target, YPT, sits comfortably at around 10.5, placing him among the league's most efficient deep threats. His separation metrics, when healthy, rank in the top 10 percentile in the league, yet injuries have limited his exposure, reducing his target volume. When you combine his playmaking ability with Monken's vertical passing philosophy, it's a match made in heaven. Cleveland needs that X factor, and Davis can be that weapon. But why would Buffalo be willing to let him go? Here's where it gets juicy. Davis, coming off an ACL tear, is entering free agency as a 26-year-old with immense upside but significant injury risk. The Bills, already entrenched with Stephon Diggs and a young core, might see Davis's injury history as an obstacle to long-term investment. The recent 3-year, $39 million deal with Jacksonville, which ended badly due to injury and performance, has left Davis's market value depressed. So a team like Cleveland could leverage that to acquire him at a discount, especially given the Browns' urgency to improve offensively. Now, let's talk about the mechanics of how this trade might actually happen. Buffalo, facing cap constraints and with a roster that's already evolving, could be tempted to move Davis, especially if they see him more as a complementary piece rather than a building block. The Browns, on the other hand, have a wealth of draft capital and young players, most notably their early-round picks acquired via previous trades, that could be packaged to land Davis. A plausible package. Cleveland could offer a second-round pick this year, perhaps coupled with a future mid-round selection, plus a player with upside such as a young linebacker or a reserve offensive lineman to sweeten the deal. Given Buffalo's current cap situation and Davis's injury status, they might prefer a deal with manageable salary cap implications, especially if Cleveland absorbs some of his upcoming contract or agrees to a short-term extension to ease the transition. From Cleveland's perspective, this isn't just a gamble, it's an insurance policy. Davis's speed and size perfectly match what Monken wants in a vertical stretch option. They could even look to extend him on a team-friendly deal that incentivizes him returning from injury with a proven role. The trade would send a statement to the league. Cleveland isn't here to compete for crumbs, they're here to dominate. Now, let's analyze the projected fit. Cleveland's offensive scheme under Monken is designed around quick vertical passing, exploiting matchups with tall, fast receivers. If Davis returns to health and hits his stride, he would immediately slot into a primary outside role, replacing or complementing Donovan Peoples-Jones. His ability to win contested catches and turn short targets into explosive plays could unlock Deshaun Watson's arm talent, forcing safeties to respect the deep ball rather than cheat toward the box or the middle of the field. When we compare Davis to similar players, think of a more athletic version of Anquan Boldin or a bigger Marquise Brown. His upside is immense. If he stays healthy, he's capable of posting 60-plus receptions, 900-plus yards, and 8-10 touchdowns in this new environment. The worst-case scenario: an injury setback, a shift in the offense, and a situation where he remains a complementary deep threat but not the focal point. The best case: he becomes a true X receiver for Cleveland, transforming their offense into one that can attack vertically at will, spreading the field and forcing defenses into pre-snap confusion. Imagine Davis and Peoples-Jones running deep routes, with David Njoku underneath, creating nightmare matchups for any secondary. This is a true game-changer for Cleveland, flipping their offensive identity from predictable to explosive. And the ripple effect: if Cleveland pulls this off, it sends shockwaves across the league. Rivals will scramble to match that level of aggressive move, and the entire AFC North will have to recalibrate their defensive game plans. Suddenly, Browns games become must-watch affairs because of the threat Davis imposes downfield. The media will hype this move for months, as it aligns with Cleveland's long-term vision of building a powerhouse from the ground up. From a league-wide perspective, this trade could mark a turning point, an indication that Cleveland, under new ownership and a new coaching regime, is serious about winning now, not later. Their boldness might ignite a bidding war among other contenders, like the Jets or even the Niners, who are always on the lookout for explosive talent. And let's not forget the human element. Gabe Davis, the big-game Gabe of the playoffs, finally gets his shot at redemption. Coming from a program like UCF, doubted at times for inconsistent production, he's now on the brink of history if this move happens. The story writes itself. A talented player, sidelined by injury, overlooked by the league, finds a new home, yes, in Cleveland, and transforms a franchise's future. Now I know what you're thinking. How does it all make sense financially? The Browns have some cap space to maneuver, especially if Buffalo agrees to absorb some salary or if Cleveland offers a short-term deal combined with a small draft pick package. Davis's deal, given his injury history, would likely be a 1 or 2 year deal at a discounted rate, perhaps around $8.12 million annually, with incentives aligned to motivate him to prove his health. This gives Cleveland flexibility, maintains cap space for further moves, and positions them as aggressive players in the offseason. In terms of winners and losers, Cleveland wins big if Davis returns to his pre-injury form. Buffalo could lose a promising young receiver for minimal return, but in the NFL, sometimes you have to accept a short-term loss for long-term gains, especially if rebuilding with draft picks and cap flexibility makes more sense. Other teams. Well, expect a scramble among contenders who see Davis's talent and realize that, with a little luck, they could snag him before Cleveland officially pulls the trigger. So, what do I think? In my professional opinion, this is one of the most calculated, audacious moves I've seen in recent years. Cleveland's front office, under Monken's new leadership, is willing to roll the dice on a guy with immense upside and injury concerns, precisely the kind of risk that, if executed correctly, turns into league dominance. The scheme fit, the timing, the assets, everything aligns. Watch closely because if this happens, if Cleveland pulls off this deal, everything shifts. The league's power structure tilts and a new chapter begins. The NFL offseason is about to get a lot more interesting, and I guarantee this isn't the last move Cleveland makes. They're setting a foundation for a future where they're not just contenders, they're kings in the making. Now, stay tuned, because when this story breaks fully, when the ink dries on that trade, you're going to remember this moment as the start of Cleveland's rise to dominance. And trust me, you'll want to be ahead of the curve because what's coming next will redefine everything you thought you knew about NFL power plays. Be prepared. The most incredible offseason in league history is just getting started, and Cleveland is at the epicenter of the storm.